Friday morning. I'm Matt Carothers, and welcome to another installment of everybody's favorite 30-minute horse racing program. It's time to roll up your sleeves, get down and dirty. It's time for Blinkers Off, and I'm so excited. We've been waiting for this day for such a long time. It's opening day at Keeneland, an incredible opening weekend, grade one after grade one after grade one. And to give you an idea, folks, these are grade ones that are great betting races. Field of 8, field of 14, field of 12, field of 11, field of 12, field of 14. Giant fields at Keeneland with all these grade one races. We'll talk Hawthorne Gold Cup. We'll talk the Champagne for 2-year-olds at Belmont Park. And we'll talk all stakes pick 4 for Saturday at Keeneland. And we will discuss it with the coach of the program. I know joins me from, it looks like I can see him out of the corner of my right eye right now. And it looks like it is picture perfect from a weather standpoint at Keeneland Racetrack in Lexington, Kentucky. And that's where my good friend and colleague Simon Bray joins us now, as he's adjacent to the paddock area at Keeneland. Simon, first of all, welcome to the program. And
thanks, Matt.
Thanks for being here. Although, you know, it might be extra work for you. You should be thanking me, because now you've already done all your work for Saturday. You can go out and party tonight. When Schrupp, LeDuc, and Amos have to pour over all these stakes races for Saturday, you're done with your work.
You know, I was cursing you yesterday on the 4-hour flight I had here. I'm like handicapping 2 days of work, but I woke up this morning with a weight off my shoulders. My work is done. I am completely done.
Nothing to do.
That's exactly right. And
Go ahead.
I'm going to share my information tomorrow, Matt, with somebody real quick before we get into the races. Center fielder for the Twins, Ben Revere, is coming out here.
Yeah, he's from Lexington, Kentucky. He's from Lexington.
Yeah, well, Paul LeDuca's bringing him to the track, so I get to meet him tomorrow. And I tell you, that catch he made earlier in the year was one of the best catches I have seen. Torrey Hunter, when he played for the Twins, couldn't even make center field catches like that.
Let's go back to they compare him to Kirby Puckett a little bit, the Hall of Famer early on in his career. He was a web gem supreme guy. Every night he was on Baseball Tonight making web gems. Ben Revere tomorrow at Keeneland. Quickly, the weather, is it as nice as it appears?
Unseasonably warm, beautiful. Temperatures in the low 70s right now. It's going to get up to mid-80s today. Left California when it was raining on Wednesday. Arrived here. Beautiful fall conditions. It's more like the spring here. That will change towards the middle of the week, but fast and firm, perfect conditions from Friday through Sunday for this Fall Stars weekend. No problems there.
Very nice. Before we jump into, we talk about Saturday stakes races on this program, but not today. We're going to talk about Saturday, but we're also going to talk a little about what's taking place today at Keeneland. And I mean, the list of stakes, Simon, you heard me talk in the open. You know, some of these, I love Super Saturday at Belmont because the stars were there, but you had 2-5s and 3-5s in short fields. I mean, at Keeneland, you're going to have 4-1 favorites. You're going to have full fields. These are very important races. These are races with big purses. These are grade ones. And from a gambling standpoint, they couldn't be any better.
No, there's no question about that. Full field. It's a field of 13 scheduled to go postward in the Alcibiades. There is one scratch earlier this morning of the 5 Sweet Cat. The Phoenix, race 8. Great rendition there. Aconite. He loves Keeneland. He has 2 wins from 4 starts. We'll get into that. And that is part of this guaranteed late pick 4, $200,000 today. And then that all stakes pick 4 tomorrow, races 6 through 9. 5 stakes races on the card. Race 6 begins this all stakes pick 4, and it begins a 50-cent pick 5. So not only do we have good races, but great wagering opportunities surrounding those races as well.
Let's begin with a couple of the big races taking place today. We'll start with the Grade 1 Alcibiades, race number 9, the Darley Alcibiades at 1 1/16 for 2-year-old fillies. You mentioned the scratch of the 5 Sweet Cat. Still looks like, I think they also maybe got into this race then. Oh, Fire Baby. So you're still going to have a field of 14 in here. Just a brutally difficult race. What do you think of To End Away, whom I know you've spent a lot of time in Canada this year. I'm not sure if you were there on the 13th of August, but she's 2 for 2, breaks her maiden nicely, then wins the a stake race at Woodbine on the 13th of August. Oh, and I see you do like her here at 6-1 morning line in from Canada.
You know, Matt, I love to come to Keeneland, but one of the other places that I love to visit is Woodbine. I spend a lot of time up there, and I was there on the 25th of June when To End Away broke her maiden in a stakes race. I was there for the My Dear. Very, very impressive in a debut. She then came back in this performance in the Ontario debutante, regressed a little bit, but her class got her through. 1, she debuted in a stakes race. 2, she's undefeated. 3, she's a half-sister to Canadian champion 2-year-old biofuel from the same connections. I don't think the distance is going to be a problem. And an interesting stat I looked up yesterday, there have been 5 editions of the Alcibiades run on Polytrack. No winner at the half-mile pole after half a mile has been further back than 2 3/4 lengths. She's going to be in a perfect position. I think James McElhaney could get his biggest victory here at Keeneland with 2 end away.
I mean, I don't know when the last time I've seen a 5-1 morning line favorite, and that's what you have in this race with the 9 and why not. I went back and forth. The 10 Frolics Revenge, who was a beaten favorite in the Brave Raj at Calder last start, but it's Marty Wolfson. The winner of that race got an easy lead for David Falks. It was kind of a merry-go-round race. She's by Vindication. She's bred to really like the synthetic. Bullet work at Calder. Almost went with her, but I ended up with a huge price, Simon. Heart of Destiny at 20-1. I like the way she closed to win at 15-1 in her last start. It was a pretty quick race in the turf at Saratoga, 142-4. She was bumped to the start, field of 12, showed some guts. I need a price in a race in which your morning line favorite's 5-1. I will get that with Heart of Destiny at 20-1 morning line. As we go back a race, we go back in time, it'll be about a half an hour, to race number 8, the Grade 3 Phoenix at Keeneland. And let's start with Aconite, because you kind of touched on him a little bit. I'll give you the fact that Aconite is a horse that likes it at Keeneland, but I will argue that the Grade 2 that he won in the Commonwealth was a weaker group than the Grade 3 that he's facing here. That was a field of 5. There wasn't much there. Sometimes people put too much emphasis. Oh, that was a Grade 2. This is a Grade 3. This is a stronger Grade 3 than that Grade 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would take that point, but here's the thing. So often we see at Keeneland, whether it's spring or fall, horses with prior experience and good experience over this polytrack surface seem to do well. That's the case with Aconite. The caveat I'll make, even though I like him in here, is that it's not 7 furlongs. He's clearly a 7 furlong specialist. This race is at 6 furlongs. But with that said, I think he's faced better. I think he's going to get a good setup here. And primarily for me, Matt, he loves the synthetic surface in there. Aconite, I think, is the horse that I'm going to take. My long shot play in here, though, would be the 4 Hoofit. As we take a look at Aconite in that Commonwealth back in the spring, good performance, career bet. He beat Cool Bullet, but I just think he's probably going to end up being the best horse in here.
Yeah, Cool Bullet, who's lost 8 straight races. I don't really know what that means. I think he's a play against in here. I should go with Sterling Outlook, because, I was in Vegas a few weeks ago. I ended up losing a little bit for the trip, but my first bet was Del Mar, race number 7, race 6. I did a $5 exacta box, Simon, and I hit Sterling Outlook in Mensa Heat, and Sterling Outlook was 33-1. So I had a dime in my pocket to begin the trip. Somehow I obviously blew that money over the next couple of days. I ended up with Amazing Destiny. I thought he ran a really good 4th in the 4-go. The pace was really, really hot. He actually put away City's Candy. They battled on the front end. City's Candy was your favorite in that race. City's Candy ended up finishing 8th of 9. So he does the dirty work. He battles with your favorite. He puts away your favorite. He can't hold off Jackson Ben, who rallies from 7th to win this race. He ran into Sean Avery 2 starts back, who got loose in the front end. Jackson Bend again, 3 starts back, second to Big Drama in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, 4 starts back. I know he hasn't hit the board in 2 starts on synthetic. I'll give another shot over the surface. I think he's the best horse in the race, and I think he'll get a good trip cutting back from 7 to 6. I will go with Amazing Destiny, really the only short price horse that I'm going to give you over the next 20 minutes or so. 3-1 morning line, Wayne Lucas, Robbie Alvarado. Now we move into Saturday. I mean, today is really, really good at Keeneland, and today's a 10, and tomorrow is a 10 plus in terms of the card at Keeneland. As Simon mentioned, this gorgeous weather is going to last all weekend long. We're going to start out of chronological order. We're going to begin in race number 9 with a Shadwell Turf Mile, Grade 1 event, and to me, this is it's a field of 8. For Keeneland standards, it's kind of a short field, but it's a good betting race because I don't care for either favorite. City's Candy, to me, I don't know. I mean, he did not run well in the 4-go. We just talked about how he was put away by Amazing Destiny. It's not like he doesn't like dirt, because he crushed in the Sir Beaufort over dirt at Santa Anita. And there's other pace in this race. And to me, Gio Ponte's not the same horse. He's lost 5 in a row. I'm guessing, Simon, knowing you a little bit, you're going to go with one of the Euro horses here, Dance and Dance or the 4 Zoffany.
You're exactly right, Matt. I got to see Dance and Dance up close at Woodbine in the Woodbine Mile last time out. He had a horrendous trip. He was very, very unlucky. The backtrack shows it. Jamie Spencer tweeted right after the race, "I should have won the Woodbine Mile." He goes, "I had a horrendous trip, blocked, nowhere to run." But then again, I'm going to end up on Zoffany. Why? Because if Zoffany and Dance lined up in a race in Europe together, Zoffany would be even money. Dance and Dance would be about 6-1. Zoffany is clearly one of the top 3-year-olds in Europe right now. That's a lot to say because he's been facing the likes of Frankel, who he was second to last time out.
By the way, he was close to Frankel. He was 3 parts of a length behind Frankel. Nobody else in this field could be that close to Frankel, could they?
No. No,
Not at this stage.
You're exactly
not at this
right.
stage for Gio Ponte.
In Frankel's defense, that wasn't the perfect ride for Tom Queally that day in Royal Ascot, where he sent the horse about 5 furlongs from home. But that's it.
Too early.
He still managed to run second to Frankel. The third place horse, Matt, Celebration, a Group 1 winner as well. By the way, Frankel will be on our air next Saturday morning from the Champions Day at Ascot. We'll be showing that race live, 6 a.m. in the morning Pacific. But Zoffany adds Lasix today. Aidan O'Brien's won this race a couple of times. He always comes over in the fall and the spring for these mild turf races. He's done it with Ad Valorem and the like. Zoffany, I think, is definitely the horse to beat. The one thing I'll say about Gio Ponte, Matt, real quick, I know he's not quite the same horse as he used to be, but I think he's a better horse at a mile. I don't know why they run him mile and a quarter. I know he's won at that distance.
That's fair.
But the most impressive victory of his career was in this race last year. He's the defending champ when he won absolutely under wraps. I think he's better at a mile. His Breeders' Cup mile races prove that.
I'm gonna go with in the pick 4, which we'll get to at the end of the show. I'm gonna use Dance and Dance, Zoffany, and my top. I ended up with Wise Dan in this race. I really liked his turf debut in the Firecracker, crushing a good horse in Baryshnikov. He came back and won the Presque Isle Mile at Presque Isle Downs on the 8th of September. He's going the right direction. I think it's a good trip, training well. I'll go with Wise Dan to pull the upset, but I agree. Zoffany probably the horse to beat in the race. The Dixiana Breeders' Futurity. Yes, it's a grade 1. Field of 14 with 2 also eligibles in this race as well. Tom Amos will be part of the coverage all weekend, and so I'm sure you've chatted with Tom about shared property. Can you tell the Blinkers Off audience any inside info on shared property? And one of Tom Amos's go-to guys, Leandro Gonçalves.
Okay, first of all, I hadn't spoken to Tom Amos about shared property.
Is there a problem between the two of you?
Secondly,
is everything okay?
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, everything's fine.
Oh, okay.
But he's driving from Louisville.
All right.
And secondly, if I did ask him, Matt, this is the response you would get. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Silence.
Really? And he's as loquacious as I am. He's as loquacious as I am.
Yeah, it's pointless asking Tom Amos for his opinion on horses.
He's
not going to tell you, even though he's one of my pals. I know. He's a talkaholic about other people's horses, but not his own.
Okay.
That said, I like shared property. It's the best 2-year-old he's got. He's undefeated. I'm going to go with him. Again, I think he's got the right running style. There's only 3 horses in this race proven around 2 turns on synthetic. And those are the first 3 finishers out of the Arlington-Washington Futurity. Shared Property was the best in there. The runner-up for Pat Byrne, Take Charge, Indy puts blinkers on. But I'll stick with Shared Property, trying to go undefeated in 3 starts.
I thought the race kind of collapsed a little bit. That was the only problem I had with the Arlington-Washington Futurity. You know, these pick 4s are so tough, Simon, and I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit. You have to be aggressive. You have to really attack these pick 4s to have a chance. I'm going to attack the pick 4. I'm going to make a horse. This horse will be a price. I like Space Race in this race. The more I looked at the 2-horse, you know, I looked at his debut at Delaware. He's 13-1 in an 11-horse field. He errs by 7 lengths. He's on synthetic. He's by Gone West out of the Deputy Minister Mary. Should like it. He's training well. I'm not sold on the 5 Majestic City. I'm definitely not sold on Majestic City by City Zip at 1 1/16. I think Space Race sits right behind Majestic City. That's going to stop in this race. And the other thing, I looked back at the charts at Delaware. I'm a big believer in that. On the 10th of September, there were 7 races on the dirt. Space Race was the only wire-to-wire winner. There was a pronounced closer bias. I think this horse improves in the synthetic, improves second time out, routing once again. I like Space Race to pull the upset for Mike Matz and Eddie Castro. Race number 7, the First Lady. Yes, field of 12, 2 also eligibles. Mile on the turf, and we talked to Euros a little bit in the Shadwell Turf Mile. I guess we'll do it again here. Aidan O'Brien, his name will come up again. He has the 6 together. And then Thieskens Theory has been in the States a couple of times, was sort of a wise guy horse. No surprise she didn't run very well as a wise guy horse in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I think I bet her that day. But she came back and ran a very good second to Winter Memories in the Garden City, although Winter Memories had a diseased trip and still was able to beat her by a neck. What do you make of Together and Thieskens Theory in this race?
Well, Thieskens Theory, I think, is quite interesting that she ends up in this race. Remember, there's a race here next week called the Queen Elizabeth II. It restricted to 3-year-olds at 1 1/8. I thought Thieskens Theory would be an absolute fit for that race. So she's not going to go there. She ends up here, I think, probably to avoid Winter Memories in that race again. Mile shouldn't be a problem for her. I think she's a contender. Together, to me, is the best of the 3-year-olds in here. She's a classic place filly. She's finished second a couple of times behind some good fillies. Blue Bunting. She was 3rd, 5th in the Coronation behind a very good filly from France called Immortal Verse when I was there for Royal Ascot. But I'm not sold on Together. She's coming back off a poor effort a couple of weeks ago where she finished 4 lengths behind Sapraser against older horses. She's got a ship here as well. So I went with the 3 Daveron, a filly that's in fine form, or a mare, I should say, for Graham Motion. She brings in a 4 out of 5 race winning streak. She's on the improve. I like the fact, Matt, if you're a bias speed figures player, that her numbers just increase incrementally each start. She has proven a move forward a little bit each start. She hasn't made that giant step forward. Here winning the Boston Spa, very, very easy. I think it's her time to shine from grade 3 to grade 2. Now she's going to win her grade 1. Daveron, Graham Motion.
I wish we had an hour for this show. I think we're a little behind schedule right now. I'll be real quick. I'm going to go with CS Silk. DeSarmo back on. She's had her best races with Ken aboard. And in this race last year, she was second at 20-1, only a half length behind Proviso. So she likes this turf course. I like the trip she's going to get. I like the fact DeSarmo's back aboard. I'll go with CS Silk, 8-1 morning line to win the Grade 1 First Lady. The Thoroughbred Club of America, oh, it's only a Grade 2. 6 furlongs. It's only a field of 11. And we should start with Switch, who's going to be a fairly heavy favorite in this race, 9-5 in the line. And you talked about Gio Ponte cutting back to a mile. You think that's a good thing for Gio Ponte. I'm guessing you think that Switch cutting back to 6 furlongs will be a good thing for her.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say I touched on Gio Ponte. I think Switch is tailor-made for a one-turn win. I mean, her last 2 efforts around one turn were 7 furlongs. They were both grade 1 efforts. She rallied from off the pace. The 6 furlongs is not going to be a problem. Her running style is going to be well suited to this track right here. John Sadler ships in. Joe Rosario, her regular rider, aboard. I'm not going to go outside of the box here. I think Switch is probably going to be favored at post time. I think she's the horse to beat. When you look through this field, I don't think there's any other fillies in here with her type of class. I've said all year long, Matt, that the 3-year-old fillies on the West Coast were better than the East Coast and Midwest group.
You've been shouting from mountaintops about that all year long.
Yeah, really I have. And I'm going to continue here.
I like that.
From February all the way to the spring, it continues. Switch, I think, is an obvious choice in the Thoroughbred Club of America.
The only negative for her is the last 4 starts. You lose at 4-5, you lose at 2-1, you lose at 3-2, you lose odds on, you lose as your favorite twice odds on in your last 4 starts. She's the one to beat. I think if Rapport is ready, the 3, she hasn't raced, since Breeders' Cup weekend last year, 11 months. She's run well fresh. She clears this field, I think. I think we might have a lone F on her hand. I know she leaves Baffert and goes to Ronnie Werner. But the way she's run fresh, what she's done over a synthetic track with 2 daylight wins at Hollywood Park versus lesser competition, lost to, I think it was a Wesley Ward horse in a Aegean that beat her in the Dream Supreme last November at Churchill. I like Rapport to maybe get away in this race, maybe have a 2-length lead turning for home. We'll see if she can hold off Switch. The Woodford Grade 3, great betting race. 5.5 furlongs over a turf course that's going to be firm. And we talk about speed in races, Simon, and there's a race like this. Because the 7 Varsity and the 10 Magoo, they're not only quick, they are lightning quick, these 2 horses.
Yeah, and then throw Streaking Mohican, who shouldn't be too far behind them, sitting just off the
not
pace
as fast
as well.
as the first 2 that I mentioned, though, I don't think.
Yeah, and you've got a torrid pace in here going 5.5 furlongs. And as we know, 5.5 furlongs to me, majority of the time you get horses coming from off the pace as opposed to 5 furlongs.
Yeah, no,
I like a horse in here quite a lot, actually. And that's the 8 Great Meals for Steve Asmussen. Yeah, 3-year-old taking on older horses. But look at the 5.5 furlong record on turf. Undefeated in 3 starts. Last time went up to Canada. I was there for the Play the King Stakes. Didn't like the 7 furlongs. Kind of flattened out. I think cutting back to 5.5. All the pace we've talked about. Julien Leperoux suits this horse with that running style. I think Great Meals could upset here in the Woodford. I like this horse a lot. Make it 4 for 4, going 5.5 after Saturday afternoon. I'm
going to go with Great Attack, who hasn't raced in 6 months. The aforementioned Wesley Ward. I see the type of Wesley Ward drills I want to see. 57-2. Has done well over this turf course. A neck behind Bridgetown, 2 starts. I like Great Attack to come off the pace and score. 50-cent pick 4s, and you almost need to spend every penny. And I am spending $54 on this ticket as I try to get my races in order now, Simon. 6, 7, 8, and 9. And I'm going to spread out, as you can see in the Thoroughbred Club of America. I'm going to, hope to beat, obviously, Switch on this ticket, but I'm including the favorite. Then in race number 7, the First Lady, I'll use Daveron. I thought Beta Bay was interesting, the foreign runners and Together, and Thiesken's Theory. I talked about CS Silk. I'll use Never Retreat, who's won 2 of her last 3 starts. Her only bad race at a mile and 3/16. My aggressive single of Space Race, getting the trip, liking the synthetic, winning against a bias by a mile at Delaware. In the Shadwell, I will go 3, 4, 7, Zoffany, Dance and Dance, and Wise Dan. $54 for 50 cents. And Simon, you're only spending 18.
Yeah, I'm only spending 18. I'm going to go too deep. I like switching in the TCA quite a lot, but I'm going to use Shotgun Gulch as well. I think her coming from off the pace, she's got some good form. She likes the synthetic. She's only been out of the money once, and her biggest victory came on a synthetic surface. The First Lady, race 7 on the card, 369 Daveron. I'm going to use together, and the 9 Face Theory, and then deep in the Breeders' Futurity with the 7 Shared Property being my top pick. But I'm going to use your space race, Matt. Michael Matz has got a solid group of 2-year-olds this year, and we're going to be talking about one of them shortly after the break in the Champagne. He's got an undefeated colt in there as well. And then I will single Zoffany, the European 3-year-old, in the Shadwell Turf Mile, trying to beat Gio Ponte in there.
That's why this is good. I mean, you've brought a couple of horses to my attention that I didn't like, and I'll now use on my own personal ticket as well. Last week was myself and that man, Mike Rapoli. Stay Thirsty didn't win, but Uncle Mo did. Oh, that was a bad loss for me. Force Freeze, my man Peter Walder. Ends up running second. Uncle Mo. It was obviously a little bit chalky at Belmont Park, and Stay Salita, 1-2. Deluxe didn't really show up at 7-2. It's very nice of Mr. Rapoli to do this as well. I claim Mr. Rapoli. He's Mike. Winchester, Kate Blanco, who ended up winning in a career-ending injury out of that race. Havre de Grace, boy, did she look good. Royal Delta, no match for Havre de Grace. Play of the day, there you have it. And we're not done with our handicapping. We're time to take our one and only commercial timeout. When we come back, we still owe you the Hawthorne Gold Cup. Great betting race. Interesting race for 2-year-olds of Champagne and our Saturday play of the day. Don't go anywhere. Oh, it's gorgeous at Keeneland, isn't it? It's our spotlight race brought to you by our dear friends at WinStar Farm. It's the Grade 2 Hawthorne Gold Cup, and Jimmy Miller does everything at Hawthorne. Telling me it's me 80 and sunny at Hawthorne for this big race. The meeting, Grade 2, $500,000. Simon Bray joining us from beautiful Lexington, Kentucky, Keeneland Racecourse. And another race, Simon, which I don't like your favorites. I think Rule is one of your favorites. 5-2, second choice morning line. Is going to have to deal with other speed. I don't really care for him at 1.25 miles. And then you have Giant Oak, who could win this race. He was second a year ago, but he's 2 for his last 16.
Yeah, I agree with you 50% of that statement. I'm not a Giant Oak fan. His running style, he comes from off the pace. I am a Rule fan. I think this horse, he's going to get in a duel. He can sit off the pace. He loves a battle. He's tough. He comes out of a very good race.
You're going WinStar Farm,
Havre de Grace last.
Homer, you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I am.
Wow.
And why not?
Oh.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that.
but Havre de Grace, Matt, you know how good she is. She came back and won flat out, came back and won the Jockey Club. Yeah, flat out came back and won the Jockey Club for Alex Solis. I think Rule might be a little better. Actually, it doesn't have to be on the lead. If you go 2 starts back, he sat just off the pace. I think he's a better animal when he has a target to run at. I think jockey Corey Lannery can let the speed go, and he can sit just off the pace. He's tough when he gets in a battle.
All right, you know the way I handicap. I like the horses. The now horses are in good form. You question their class over these horses that maybe were better 6 months ago, a year ago. I think the now horses cease. He's getting better each and every start. The big question for the 5 horses, he's never raced on a fast dirt course. I understand that. He wins in the slop, he wins in the mud, he wins on synthetic and turf. But I think he's the real deal. I think he gets a nice trip. 12-1 morning line. I think it'll be 6 or 7-1 come post time. 2 minutes in program. Grade 1 Champagne. 3 Grade 1s at Belmont on Saturday. Unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about all of them. We'll talk about a field of 9 in the Grade 1 Champagne and Union Rag, 7-5 morning line favorite. Crushed in the Saratoga Special over a sloppy racetrack. Is that who you're going with? Or are you going with a price here?
No, I'm going to go second choice. I'm going with Alpha.
Okay,
I haven't seen Alpha.
We agree.
Yeah, I watched him. He was visually very impressive. Good final time, 1:23.4. I think Alpha is the up-and-coming horse. Comes out of a 7-furlong race, 1-turn mile. Very classy individual here. He's by Bernardini, got solid connections. I think he scores right back here in the Champagne Grade 1, and he'll go to the Breeders' Cup, I think, as one of the top choices after winning impressively tomorrow. There's no question about that for me. He's a very, very good animal.
Africanus was the favorite in the race, which Alpha, when he ran third, I know he didn't break very well, but he crushed that horse, and that's the horse that finished in front of Takes the Gold, the 3, who then airs in a maiden event at his next start. He's a player in this race at 6-1. And Simon, my friend, you are an Alpha male, so that is a personal swami. For you. We both like
Nobody's
Alpha.
ever told me that before, Matt.
Yeah, it's pretty
Nobody's ever said that to me.
It's pretty sweet, isn't it? What a sweet way to conclude the show. How about you dish out a play of the day for Saturday? Oh, I have to get my form open for Saturday. You're going Keeneland, I imagine.
I'm going Keeneland. I'm going race 5. I've kind of already hinted at it. It's the Woodford Grade 3. I'm going with the 8 Great Mills. Like I said, undefeated at 5.5 furlongs. We talked about all the speed in that race. Julian Leproux going to be patient. Sit, allez down the stretch. Great Mills should win the Woodford. There you go, Manny.
What was that? For Greg Wolf, I went with Novak Djokovic, the 11 in race 4 at Belmont. The horse's name is Djokovic, literally.
Okay.
And off the pace horse, a lot of speed in the race, 12-1 morning line. Better horses, the blinkers were added. A win, 2 starts back, a good second most recent. We'll see if he's good enough. I will go with the Delaware Shipper. Simon, appreciate your busy schedule, taking time to be part of the show. Have a great weekend as well.
I'll say hi to Ben Revere for you. I'll say hi to Ben Revere for you.
Definitely do so. The future of the Twins. Next time we do the show, October 14th.